5 things you want to know before building wooden garden sheds. You've been gardening for a year or two now and have discovered that this is one hobby that you want to continue. Gardening not only brings you personal fulfillment, but your home and yard has never looked better. The only problem is the more you garden, the more tools and equipment you accumulate. The time has come for you to provide your tools and equipment with a home of their own. A garden shed is the perfect place to keep all those gardening essentials in one place, and you are thinking about building your own shed. You have been looking at plans for wooden garden sheds, and there are so many to choose from you are not quite sure how to go about choosing the right garden shed plans for you. While different gardeners have different needs, here are 5 things every gardener wants in their garden sheds. Space. While the amount of space you are going to want in your shed is going to depend a great deal on what equipment you have or plan to have in future, you are going to want to make sure that your wooden garden sheds have enough space to accommodate everything you have now, plus enough additional space for any tools or equipment you will be adding in the future. A good rule of thumb is to build your wooden garden sheds 1/3 larger than your present needs. That way you will have the extra space you need for anything you forgot to consider, or simply for future additions to your gardening arsenal. Convenience. You are also going to want to arrange the items in your wooden gardening sheds in a way that they are convenient to get and so that the shed itself is convenient to use. This means you are going to want to choose a plan for your gardening shed that has directions for building such things as shelves, racks for hanging tools such as rakes, hoes, weed whips and other tools that you don't want to just pile in the corner. You may also want to consider such conveniences as a full-side opening door to get the garden tractors in and out of the wooden garden sheds easier, and perhaps potting and resting benches. You might even want to consider adding the porch to your shed so that you can rest out of the sun while working in your garden. Style. Having the right style of wooden garden sheds are another thing most gardeners want. No one who spends time making their yard and garden beautiful wants a shed that is an eyesore. So, choosing a shed that is the right style to match your surroundings and the existing buildings on your property is a must for most gardeners. There are many different styles of sheds to choose from, such as salt box, barn, gingerbread and even colonial. Looks. Not only do most gardeners want the right style of wooden garden sheds, they want their shed to have the right look about it. Adding windows or the right roof or trim to your shed can help it to blend in and enhance its surroundings. It also helps to create a better impression of your entire property as well, which is important to gardeners who take pride in the appearance of their home. Ease of building. Most gardeners who build their own wooden garden sheds want a shed that is simple and easy to build, allowing for a professional finished-looking project. Not everyone is a skilled carpenter, and most do-it-yourselfers need plans that offer simple step-by-step directions that are easy to follow and results in a great-looking building when assembled. Luckily, with so many shed plans to choose from, finding a shed plan that matches your building skills should be a simple matter of doing a little research. Finding the right plans for wooden garden sheds that meet all your needs and give you everything you want in a garden shed will make your enjoyment of caring for your yard and garden all the more pleasurable. You just may find that it is the best investment you ever made. Things to consider when choosing your wooden garden shed plans. If you are a serious gardener, you know the importance of having all your tools and equipment together and close to your working area. Nothing is more frustrating than wasting time looking for a certain tool to use because you have to store your gardening equipment in different places. Wooden garden sheds seem like the perfect thing to keep all those garden essentials together and to help keep your yard and garden neat. There are literally hundreds of plans for sheds to choose from, so finding one you like shouldn't be much of a problem. However, there are a few things you need to consider before you make that final selection for the shed you will want to build. Size. The first important consideration is going to be what size of a shed you need. If you have a small garden and only a few basic tools, your wooden garden sheds only need to be large enough to hold everything neatly. However, If you have a large yard and garden and need a place to store the lawn tractor and garden cart as well as your various tools, fertilizer and such, a much bigger shed will be needed to meet those needs. The larger the shed, the more things you will need to consider, such as location and the type of foundation your shed will need. If you are going to need a larger foundation, you might want to consider hiring a professional to lay your foundation for you to help ensure that when you build your sheds they are level and have the firmest foundations possible. Function. The second thing you will want to take into consideration before choosing the plans for your wooden garden sheds are what you want the shed's function to be. For example, is it only going to house tools, or do you want a shed with a full opening side door to make it easy to get the garden cart and tractor in and out of the shed? You might also want to consider your need for a potting bench. Potting benches often come in useful, especially for people who have potted plants as well as an outdoor garden. However, only you can judge whether you will actually have need of a potting bench or not. Aesthetics. Aesthetics is another important consideration when choosing wooden garden sheds. You've seen those sheds that stand out like a sore thumb, neither matching the other buildings on the owner's property or blending in with the garden itself. These buildings may be functional, but they take away from the overall beauty of the yard and garden on which they stand. You don't want your shed to detract from the overall beauty of your home and yard, so it is important to choose a plan for the wooden garden sheds that will blend in and complement your home, yard and garden. There are various kinds of wood you can choose from for your shed, as well as various designs that can match the other buildings on your property and help these wooden garden sheds blend in and actually enhance your home and yard rather than detract from it. Your own building skills. Another thing you have to take into consideration when choosing from the hundreds of available building plans for wooden garden sheds is your building skills. While some plans are simple and easy for even someone with extremely limited building skills to master, other plans are quite intricate and complicated and can be difficult for those whose building skills are limited. If you are going to build your wooden garden sheds yourself, you are going to want to choose a storage shed building plan that is within your skill area so that the finished shed will look as good as possible. Of course, you always have the option of hiring a builder, and this is something you may want to consider if the plans that you choose are beyond your